Love you, Linda. Love you.
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
And welcome. Justice Serve TV is on the air. Please do not attempt to adjust your sets. We have some pretty new things going on there, including Linda Kenney Baden. How are you, Linda?
Hello, Michael Bryant. I feel like I haven't spoken to you in
at least 2 days.
At least two days.
At least 2 days.
I know. What everyone doesn't realize, like, we're on the phone a lot. We text a lot. You know, It's not just that we can leave the show and then, we're gone and we're off into outer space on one of Jeff Bezos' outer space missions. No, that's not us. We're right here with you guys, preparing for the next show and the next show and the next show. As a matter of fact, we have shows prepared all the way through the middle of August 15th, at least our schedule.
I know. I think that, and here I want to show you this just because it relates to one of them that we've got here. Can you see this? This is Turtleboy's, what he's calling the whore tour. So we just confirmed he's going to come on a week from tomorrow. So it's not on the actual rundown list yet, but it
will be. Yes.
Now that's been locked in tonight. Later on tonight, he's going to be on. I think we're going to be on at 7 that night, but that's a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's on at 8 tonight on uncivil law. I'm not familiar with that, but he's on there at 8 o'clock tonight. Anyway, so that's one little thing that's going on. Here's something else that I keep forgetting to do, and I'm going to try now to bring this up on my phone, as I've done many times and forgotten to do. Thank you to, first of all, Jerusa White for that, $10.
Fabulous.
And also Jacqueline Chabois. It's French, I think. Chabois.
Chabois. Oh, it's a beautiful name. Oh,
yes. Merci.
So much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So good. I've forgotten to do that last time.
And just because we forgot, we don't really forget. We will get to it when it's not facing us right in the screen. Sometimes we get so excited about what we have to do, and then we get into as you all know, we get into a new tangent, and then sometimes our tangent just goes. And oh boy, I have to tell you, K. Schmidt gives 5 Justice Serve TV memberships as soon as we get off the air. Maybe while we're on air. I'm actually going to join to be a member.
That's
I wanted a way to do it when we're on the air, if I could do it when we're on the air. And by the way, you have seen, yes, this is our new template. We're going to, you know what, Mike, I hate to tell you this, but our opening credits and all are going to have to be changed to start,
gosh.
It's time. It's time.
I don't know about the music, but I don't mind changing the rest. But the music
should be changed too.
I don't know. We could throw that out there like we did last time, and it was a resounding.
But we didn't have some of our AI music about justice.
Some of it is okay. I got to be honest with you, and I've heard Melanie Little's, and I've heard they start to sound very similar. Very similar.
Warrior, the
very same pattern. Very same, and we threw that out before. We said, okay, who likes the one we use for Person of the Week, which we haven't done in a while.
Just a little bit.
Who likes that versus who likes Justice, the reggae version? And it was an overwhelming decision to stay with the reggae stuff. So I don't mind revisiting that, and I don't mind changing the visuals that go along with it. But I think the music is solid. So
I like some of the visuals. Hi, Joey, thank you so much. You see, Joey, we put up your pause and Tubi and Domino things separately so everyone could enjoy it. So I hope you didn't mind that. So it's got a lot of views actually.
Yeah, I hope you didn't want to keep that private. Whoops, sorry.
we did. We should have our members make music for us, and vote on it. Look at Joey does it, and look at Oasis. They do all this music for us. And maybe, I don't know, maybe can we roll our music out? Can we change it to different things, different days of the week? Or is that something that's not possible? Are we not that tech?
I think physically, I think it's possible.
You're the tech person in this relationship.
It's certainly possible. But if we're going to explore it, we're coming up on 1 year in a couple of months, maybe that's the good time to evaluate and change and
Yeah, when we hit
relaunch.
30,000, when we hit 30,000 subscribers, which is like, who knew that we'd be that close that
Good.
quickly?
We're very close to 24,000 now.
And
So
that's
yeah,
all because of all of you that are coming to watch it. I know I have to join to be a member. I have to find first. I had to find YouTube. There it is. YouTube. Search YouTube. Justice Served TV. You know what I've noticed too? We're even coming up when you start searching. We're like getting there in the big leagues. Why? Because of our viewers, right? Because of
yeah.
our
I mean,
viewers.
no doubt about it.
Nothing without our
We have a
viewers.
very smart audience too. I've done a little scanning around, checking out other stuff, and I think we have the smartest audience. Maybe it's just my biased opinion. Hey, before we move on, an update. I don't think this qualifies as breaking news, but it did just happen today. In the lawsuit with Tom DeRocher and myself against Jeffrey Noble.
Does that still exist?
Yeah, funny you should ask. As the superintendent of the Mass State Police, also Sergeant Michael Hardman, and then a bunch of does. In that case, which is one of the three that led to that amazing showing on the day of the Karen Reed verdict, of course, Aidan Kearney started the whole process. But if it weren't for these lawsuits, people would have been out of sight and maybe out of mind down the street. So this lawsuit, people are probably thinking this is one of the three lawsuits. The other was Mr. Grant's lawsuit, and then Mr. Delgado. So they're still going because they seem like, well, wait a minute, the trial's over. And didn't you win because the buffer zone became the First Amendment zone? Well, yes, that was kind of a interim fix. But there are more issues to be resolved. First of all, remember, if you talk about specifically my situation and Tom's, we were prevented from doing our jobs. And that was an event that took place. That isn't fixed retroactively. Okay, that they fixed the buffer zone. But whatever happened to us that day and Tom that morning, those were independent standalone acts, and there has to be some remedy for that. I don't know what it is. I'm sure that our attorney, Mark Randazza, and his associates will figure that out. But they had a hearing, or they're going to have a hearing, but it's been pushed now to August 27th. And it is, my feeling is that they're working something out. It's also summertime, so people are on vacation.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's people are trying. Everyone's tired. Everyone wants to take a little bit of a summer relaxation. Although the weather is not, at least today, on the East Coast.
I'm hearing really some nasty, some thunder and lightning. So hopefully we will not get glitched here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is.
Okay, let me just tell me, how do I become a member of Justice TV? This is when this is when you really, you know that you can do this. You can be a host. You can try a murder case as good as anybody can. And then you go to something like this and says, play in queue. I don't think that's the case.
Is there a 12-year-old around? Is there a 12-year-old that can help Linda with this? So anyway, just to wrap this little nugget up, this case continues. We'll keep you posted on what is going to happen or not happen.
I was on the air. In fact, I just played that clip. We should have played that. Now that you mentioned that, we should have brought that in and played that clip.
Yeah,
I just played it for somebody the other day. That was the first day of Karen Reed. I were on the air. Couldn't believe what was happening. I asked you to say it again, and you were off camera for a little bit, and then this whole thing just broke. And then you decided and you informed me that night you were going to go be a plaintiff in the First Amendment lawsuit. And I thought, that's great. I am so proud of my partner.
Well, it had to be done. And Mark Randazza and John Matus get all the credit for getting in there and mixing it up with these folks and representing us. I was in court in Boston, in the federal court, beautiful building overlooking the harbor. And when the arguments were made that ultimately led to the opening of the buffer zone. Remember, that was not an agreement between the parties. That was a court order.
Right.
So the rest of this lawsuit will be resolved either by an agreement between the parties or it'll go further procedurally, and there could be a trial. I'd be shocked if there is, but there could be. It's still alive. So
all right. So I have to give something to our producer. Our producer, could you please send? You can hear that. That's a Mayday call. Michael DelSignore.
What was that?
A new link, please. He used the old link. Could you please send him a new link to get on? He's our guest for this evening, and all. So, as you are talking, if you could keep talking about the suit, I will tell him that Missy is sending him a new link.
Yeah, if you use the old link, do you go back in time and end up in the old show? Is that Is that a possibility?
Very interesting.
Hey, I mean, I'm going to give you, check this out. This is a tease for an episode we have coming up well, this is the tease for it. I mean, what do you think of these? What do you think of these peepers? Can you?
So it's
somebody
wait.
talking to you?
That looks like
These are big. So these we have an episode upcoming where these will have some direct impact. That's all I can say. And it may be this week, it may be next week. We're not sure.
Do I get to wear my red glasses? Do I get to?
Oh
wear
yeah,
my
we can have competing glasses, but
Okay,
these glasses are an homage to somebody that we are very familiar with now.
Yeah.
We have a show coming up that's going to dwell on what the people think and thought about stuff happening. It's totally people,
I'm
comment, viewer.
definitely going to wear my red glasses. Matter of fact, on that, I saw it went past. Somebody wanted to know when they could ask me questions about cases I have been on. You know, we've never set that show up, right? That's probably.
I think it's been talked about.
A pretty good thing, Joanne Platypus. Publicity Buzz keeps competing with us because they want to do something on the Phil Spector case, which I said I would do, but I was just really too tired to do it, and there was too much going on. And plus, as you know, I have this big federal court case coming up the first week in August. Do not expect to see me here. Just a little word for the wise. I won't be here.
We might even be off that week.
Michael Bryant, I think, will do We're in the World. I think we'll do a World in the World is Justice for a couple of days that week. Aidan's going to be off that week because in the following week we come back pretty strong, with where we have to go. And remember, just as some updates, we're going to be covering the Donna Adelson case and all. Tomorrow night, just so you know, as we wait for Michael DelSignore to get on to do the show tonight, we have her making her first appearance, Jodine Weber, former FBI agent, retired, a real FBI agent, kind of like Michael Easter, a real FBI agent who's fabulous. She and I hooked up. I watched her, and she's been watched Michael Easter, and she loves him to death. Unlike some other FBI agent, by the way. We did send an invite, as you know, I will say her name, to Jennifer Coffin-Daffer. We did send an invite to her to be on the show, to follow the whole idea that I demanded an apology on behalf of Easter. There was back and forth on X, and then one of our followers said, "Look, Linda's fair. Go on the show." So I said, "Okay, we'll be fair. We want an apology, but we'll be fair." But she happened to be busy that night, so I've left it open to be on the show, and she can come on anytime she wants, except for the night that Mr. Easter is going to be on, whenever that is.
We're working that out. And it's not, Jennifer Coffin-Daffer was on with both of us at various times at Law and Crime.
Right, no issues.
She was a guest on both of our shows.
Right.
So, it's not like it's unknown territory. I'm always happy to have somebody on with a different viewpoint. Let's just chat. Let's talk about it.
Speaking of chat, I know Aidan went after Mike Ruiz of Fox News. Mike Ruiz is a friend of mine on the article that he did on the Alberts today. I have to tell Aidan a couple of things. One is that Mike Ruiz is a big free Karen Reed. Okay, he was always when talking to me, always free Karen Reed in our conversations. Okay, so that's one thing. I just want to make it very clear. He also put our viewpoint on Fox very clearly, and he is the one who pushed me and gave me the opportunity to go against John DePetro on the Paul Morrow show. So I have to give him a shout out. I'm going to send that message to Aidan. I don't know if he'll appreciate it, but to tell him that those are things he should know about Mike Ruiz.
So I'll have to look at that article. I didn't see that article yet.
I didn't read the article, but he's been very good to us. He's been very good to Karen Reed through us, and he's been very good to allow us to go after John DePetro when he could. So I just want to point that out to him. Okay.
A couple other programming notes as we get ready to bring Michael on here and Terry into the things we're talking about today, which of course includes the Alan Jackson letter and the Bederow letter and all of the tentacles that come out of that. We're going to look at both the mechanics and really the philosophical impact of some of these things. Very different. But tomorrow,
Jodine Weber.
We have Jodine. We should go by Jodine.
She doesn't go by Jodine, but I'm giving her formal name because that's what's on her X account. Okay. And she's going to go through the wall. We're going to go through, I call him the Franken monster, Brian Walsh.
Oh, yes, the Brian Walsh case. And then Wednesday, we have a very special guest, never before appearing to talk about a case that's very near and dear to her. In fact, this woman is the last person, as we understand it, right? Yes. To talk
Sandra
this case
Birchmore.
is just horrible. Yeah, the Sandra Birchmore case, and we'll also have Mizzy on as well, who's
Yeah,
been
we're
our
gonna
expert.
we're gonna have Sandra Birchmore's cousin, and you know her well, okay?
Yeah, she's been in the chat, but she's going to appear, and we'll have a
And we'll
conversation.
formally introduce her name when she is on Wednesday. And she's the last person ever to speak to Sandra. And we think that's important. We said we're going to continue to cover that case. We know he has a hearing, I think, in a federal court August 4th, but it's not going to be a real hearing. I can tell you that.
And it might be pushed. We don't know. It might be pushed again.
And if there is something, we'll cover it when we get back from that week from Where in the World is Justice. But
and then on Thursday of this week, we may or may not have a very popular guest we've had before. That's all I will say. All I can tell you is his name is very similar to a holiday, Christian holiday. But that may not happen until next week. We're not sure. If it doesn't happen, we'll have something else for you. And then Friday, we'll do another.
The spectacles, right? The spectacles.
That's right. We'll do another dip into a Adelson witness this Friday. Each Friday, we're trying to drop one of those to get us ready for that trial. August 19th, the jury selection begins. The case is supposed to go through September 15th, including verdict, but obviously that's a rubber number. Who knows? Right. It's a living, breathing thing.
Yeah, and also we're going to continue our investigation as we've been doing on the Epstein matter. As you know, we had almost 40,000 of you, I think, have viewed the breakout of Mark Epstein on our show, probably one of his biggest breakouts, and even though he's been on all of other shows, mainstream media. And we do have some leads that we're following as a result of that. Things take time. People don't expect things to happen overnight. But we do have some leads that we're following on that, and we may have some more information on that as we go along. So we haven't forgotten about that. So this is going to be, these Birchmore and Epstein are going to be things that are going to be continuing, obviously, on our show, really, until we get to the bottom of it, right?
There is something, we're going to get into this with Mr. Easter. I don't know how many folks have at least looked through the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General report that was done back, I think it was in November 2023, on the Epstein investigation. Unbelievable. If you haven't looked at this thing, it's kind of cumbersome, but we'll pull excerpts and stuff from that when we talk to Michael Easter. It has photos of the cell, photos of the floor plan. It shows how the camera does and doesn't cover certain things, and we've seen that. Shocking, amazing video. It's a joke.
Oh, that's a joke.
And now it's being challenged. The metadata is being challenged about,
now we have more things. We have hoodies. People completely, person is completely shrouded, coming out of here in hoodies, and their hands are covered too. And it's August.
Two of the inmates, they were identified as inmate 1 and inmate 3, I think. 2 of them said that they saw somebody come on the tier. And this is tier L, I think it is, which is a few steps up from where we see that kind of muddy looking corner where the guards were, surfing the web and not doing their job.
They're on the other side, right? They look.
It's just off to their left. They can actually see it from where they sit.
Well, you can't see it.
But they from where they sit, they could see his cell up the stairs, right? But the camera doesn't show that area. But 2 of these inmates at the time said they saw somebody between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. They know now that nobody did their cell check, which was supposed to be every, I think, 30 minutes, but not done. 10:30 was the last time it was done until they found him the next morning. But these 2 inmates saw somebody there between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. Come on. Anyway, it's fascinating. And that report, even if you just flip through it, like you're looking for color pictures in a book, there's some amazing diagrams in there, some amazing photos, and we're going to get into all of that with nobody better than Michael Easter for that.
And then come watch, and then come back, even before Easter's interview, and then come. Matter of fact, almost every day you can listen to the Mark Epstein interview because there's little nuggets in there that you won't believe, and you can see why he is so frustrated. Like, you can't get a 911 call.
Yeah.
You can't get a hospital report. I mean, come on. Every camera seems to malfunction, and the ones that do function. I mean, the government, though, gets themselves into this, Michael, right? They make what appears to be a copy of a raw footage, right? And then you've got little mouse things, and you've got software insertions you can see, and you have splices, which look like the old movie splices. And instead of just saying, here's the raw footage, here, go to it, right? They get themselves into this mess even further supporting the fact of what we all believe.
Yeah. No, I think it's fascinating. I know we've had comments, and we may get into some of those later this week. We don't want to get into politics. This is not political. This is legal. This is any case you'd have where law enforcement is not doing their job or is otherwise covering up a crime. What's the difference? I mean, that's what it's about. I'm a reasonableist. Remember, I'm the only one in the reasonableist party. I'm apolitical. I don't give a crap about politics. If any politician anywhere does anything that helps me or my family, it's total accident. So, yeah, I'm not political. This is true crime, folks.
Yeah. So anyhow, back to your questions about whether or not we'll do a show asking me about my cases. I've never really done that. I'm going to have to think about it, but we'll do something at some point. But right now, we're booked. That's all I can say. Michael? Oh, Michael. Michael's just a perfect, you know what's happened here? His generator has caught on because of the storm. I don't even have to, I know this by just looking at this picture of solidarity. As a matter of fact, behind me, if you see behind me, it looks like it's some kind of Tim Burton movie. Did you see the lightning that was behind me? Now, I'm still on the air, but I know exactly what's happening to him. We will wait for his generator to come on. So, maybe what we'll do is bring Michael DelSignore on, my friend, my buddy, put him on the stage, and then when Michael comes back, we can talk. We can bring everything. We can bring everything back, right, to where it was. Michael, well, at least we'll have one Michael. Oh, now we got Michael back.
I told you.
You were lightning struck. It struck behind me. It struck behind me, okay, like a Tim Burton movie, and you went out, okay?
Well, I'm just north of you, so...
I was going to bring Michael. Our friend Michael, who last time we saw him was right after the verdict, right on the verdict. He's with us pretty much all day. There he is, right?
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hi. In case you didn't notice, Michael's the real lawyer of the group because I'm dressed like in a yoga pants and a denim shirt and all. It's raining so much here we can't walk our dogs in the pouring rain. Hi, Michael.
Hi. How you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Michael.
Nice to see you. I think I haven't seen you from the home studio. I've always been out in the middle of nowhere. Was it Verdict Day? Was that the last time you were on? Is that right?
So,
Verdict
Day.
Yeah. A lot, and they had fun. Well, I drew you in. I drew him in just before the week before, and then drew him in because I said I know the best Massachusetts criminal defense lawyer. I mean, I know you all have your favorites here, but I know the one who's in the trenches day in and day. And boy, did he answer our questions every single day. And so he's the best. Tell people where they can find you again before we start, Michael.
My website is DelSignoreDefense.com. They could reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of the social medias.
Okay. All right. And
so we thought, we talked to you on Verdict Day. We're still talking about this damn case because, not only do people have trouble moving on, and the reason primarily I think is because when do we get justice for Officer John O'Keefe? But the characters that were involved continue to, be in the news. Right. And we got a couple we want to talk about today that are directly in the Karen Reed case. Then, of course, the collateral Aidan Kearney case and his attorney and what is starting to come out of the discovery in that case, or I should say the lack of discovery, because when people hear, if they haven't already, what was supposedly presented, I was at the hearing. Was that just last week? It was a week ago today. I was at that hearing and was talking about the alleged 5,000 documents. So we're going to get to that. Let's start with who I think is one of my favorite witnesses of all time, not for the right reason, but she just is because she is just a snot. She's just despicable.
Or as I called her, and I usually don't tell people, I usually don't denigrate women, a cocky ass bitch, because I just thought she was so outrageous that as far as I'm concerned, she deserved every bit of any woman's venom because we all work so hard to be good at our jobs. And then she works so hard to denigrate us all.
Yeah.
She's you would think she's a cartoon or is an SNL skit because it's just so ridiculous. So what we have is the letter that comes out of the Alan Jackson office, and this is basically to Commissioner Cox, and it's Commissioner Cox is going to be kind of a central theme today. But this is what is being called the Brady request, Brady demand. So. Michael, before we dig into this, and let me bring Let me bring us back into the screen larger so we can hear your discussion on Brady. Tell us what a Brady list is. It's not the same as an Epstein list, apparently, because a Brady list actually is a thing. So tell us what the Brady listing request is all about.
So the Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure were amended March 1st of this year. Basically, the list is a list of officers that their credibility has been called into question. They might be under investigation. Perhaps they've had an internal investigation. But the Rule 14 was amended to make very clear that anything that goes to an officer's credibility must be disclosed without request. Whether it could be something that's relevant to identification, a motion to suppress, guilt, innocent, punishment. So they listed out all of the different ways evidence could be exculpatory. So I think based on the rule, I think she has to be added to the list. The letter lays it out perfectly. Either she lied or she's got a medical condition where she doesn't know if she's telling the truth. So that goes to her credibility. It's spelled out in Rule 14 that would be mandatory disclosure.
Could you tell everybody what Rule 14 is? Remind people what it is. I mean, our viewers probably know, but for those who are just coming into this and say, all right, what are you guys talking about? You're lawyers. Talk to us in English.
So basically, it means that there's no hiding the ball. There's no games. If the prosecutor has evidence that's favorable to the defense, they must disclose it. The idea is it puts the defense on a level playing field with the prosecutor. It promotes due process, fairness, transparency. Prosecutors are supposed to be out to do justice, and it makes their obligations very clear that they have a duty to investigate, to inquire, to make sure that they comply with this duty, so that if there's exculpatory evidence, meaning favorable to a defendant, whether it goes towards any aspect of the case, it's disclosed to promote fairness in our system. So if it's not done that way, you could have a motion for new trial, you could have cases reopened, people wrongfully convicted, and serving substantial jail sentences. So that's the purpose of the rule.
Okay, so, and ironic for those who don't remember, that was just revamped by, who was that? Oh yeah, Judge Kenney. So in a weird backhanded way, she actually helped the defense by creating what's really an affirmative duty on the behalf of the prosecution to reach out to people in their office, to law enforcement, and find things that are responsive that may be exculpatory. And so here we have the letter from Alan Jackson's office. This letter serves formal notice that a member of your department, Officer Kelly Dever, never say Dever, must be included in the Brady database, and goes on to cite those grounds. Officer Dever described in indelible detail what she witnessed. Chief Berkowitz and Mr. Higgins go into the Sally Port. Remember, she wasn't on duty. She had finished her duty and was called in last minute to go sit at, in her opinion, I'm just going to go sit at, she used to be in Canton PD. She's now with Boston. And she was going to go sit at the desk, look at the monitors. Well, just so happened it was her lucky day. And this is when the John O'Keefe story starts to unfold. So she's sitting there looking at monitors when former Chief Berkowitz and Mr. Higgins go into the Sally Port, which is where the subject vehicle, the Lexus SUV, was being stored. So she testifies in court about that, but she had made statements to a government entity before that, another, what was it called, organization, better known as the FBI. And so
that FBI that the judge wouldn't let anyone say until she got on the stand and said it how many times, Michael?
I don't know.
Agents, she kept saying.
Yes, and I don't think anybody had a question who it really was ultimately, but Judge Kenney wanted to play that fiction out. Anyway, so she describes in indelible detail that that she witnessed Berkowitz and Higgins go into the Sally Port, stay there for a, quote, wildly long time. These are quotes from the FBI report. She thought it, quote, weird, end quote, that a witness on the case, Higgins, would have access to a seminal piece of evidence, the SUV, in the investigation. She described at length her observations of the two men entering the Sally Port with the SUV. Officer Dever claimed no issues with her memory. Again, this all relates to what was said to the FBI. Flash forward to her testimony. let's just, we'll get back to the letter here in just a second, but I think it's important because it is, so I got to find the right time code here to bring you a little bit of some Dever highlights here.
And while you're doing that, speaking about things that are important, Bijou Cooper says Linda Kenney Baden is my spirit animal. I hope it's what I'm not being spicy. I hope it's what I'm being legal.
I think it's spicy. I think you triggered that with one of your latest spicinesses is. Okay, so let's see. Hold on here. I'm going to get this. This will be one of our favorite witnesses and a couple of just key moments from her testimony, which will dovetail very interestingly with Mr. Cox, who we've been talking about as well. So let's see.
And with what Michael Dots is releasing today, which we can talk about.
Okay.
Ms. Dever, when we left off, I was asking you about the meeting at the commissioner's office. And I want to clear this up. Was general legal counsel in that office or not when you had a meeting with the commissioner, Michael Cox?
No, it was just me and the commissioner.
At some point, did the commissioner say to you that Boston Police Department, insofar as your connection to this case is concerned, Boston Police Department fully supports you?
Yes.
Did he also say, do the right thing?
That's a direct quote. So I can't recollect if he said a direct quote 2 years ago.
A year ago, when you talked to us, the defense, did you tell the defense that when you were called up to the commissioner's office, he told you two things? Commissioner Cox told you, number one, Boston Police Department supports you, and Officer Dever, do the right thing.
So he said my name correctly. He said Dever. And
That's my mistake. You want me to repeat the question so I get
So,
right?
Mr. Jackson, let's go ahead and answer, please.
yes, and he said nothing with the intent of guiding me one way or the
I asked you
other.
what his intent was, madam. I asked you what he said to you. What were his words to you?
Madam is the kiss of death.
Madam.
That he supports me.
And
Just wanted me to tell the truth up here.
his words were, do the right thing, correct?
I don't recall.
Aha. So not recalling seems to be very interesting. Let me go to another little tidbit here for Mr. Cox. Now, this happened just, I think it was yesterday, when Mr. Cox was being interviewed about a number of things, and somebody had to ask about, this testimony and whether or not he recalls. You wouldn't think there'd be a problem with him recalling the meeting because it was him and her, as she testified. It was obviously a pretty important case underway, but I think you might be surprised at his response.
During the recent Karen Reed trial, you got a visit from Officer Dever. The defense implied that you influenced her testimony. You want to respond to?
I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person was associated with the Karen Reed case. I have an organization, Philip, over 3,000 people, and we support all our folks. And the reality is that, I get information passed on, whether people are high or low, and I encourage everyone, right? And if you're going to work here and you belong here, then we're going to encourage you. I have no idea what they're talking about with Karen Reed. It had nothing to do with Karen Reed. No discussion about
Did you
Karen.
tell Officer Dever to do the right thing?
I didn't know she was even associated with that case. So, I don't know. I was struck. Like, what do I have to do with the Karen Reed race? I never have said those words together. And so the fact is,
Wait, I've never said those words ever.
we have employees here that we have to develop and encourage and do things, and I do that for tons of our employees.
Do you feel that you were?
Okay, so I don't know, Michael. Let me get your take. Is this guy just an idiot, or does he think he's helping himself by pretending not to remember this meeting, not remembering the case, not remembering Ms. Dever? What's your take?
I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to distance himself from it. He's trying to pretend that she came to the office and that he didn't know why she was there. He just told her to do the right thing. And apparently he's claiming she never mentioned the Karen Reed case. So I think he's trying to pretend he had no idea why she was in the office.
Well,
He didn't answer the question, did you tell her to do the right thing? He changed it.
I mean, he made it sound like I don't even remember talking about it ever. And this would have been what, 3 months ago?
Right.
I mean, I'm a busy man. I got 3,000 people in my office. You're an idiot. How do you not remember something so important, especially when it's now been in the news at this point within a few weeks of this interview? I just don't understand the thought process.
And people were emailing or texting at him, including me, saying that she's an embarrassment to your office, Commish. I mean, it wasn't like there's no one on the other side, I assume, not taking those X's, right, Michael?
And it's a case about police misconduct, a sloppy investigation. You would hope he'd want to use it as a teaching point for his fellow Boston police officers and not be oblivious to what's going on with the case.
Yeah, Dever. Now, very interesting. I just want to Richie from Microdots, and we love Microdots, is working on. I would tell all of you to actually go to his site. Wait till we end though. And he makes some real interesting points about Microdots and the fact that she did this interview with the FBI like in August of 2023, before even the first trial was in. So she's doing this interview, Dever, never say Dever or whatever she is. She does this interview with the FBI before this, and no one even knows about the Sally Port videos. The public has no recollection, has not heard about them. They've not been in the news. They've not been shown to people. And she's telling them that she thinks there's something, in my words, nefarious because of Higgins and the the police chief then at that time, the deputy police chief spending a lot of time in the Sally Port. So she says that piqued her interest. She has no reason, what Michael Doss points out, to even remember that or to know that was going to be important because it hadn't even come up in a trial yet. It hadn't even been disclosed. What are your thoughts about that, Michael?
Yeah, exactly. Her first statement was, it appears to be an honest reflection. She said, wildly long time, she doesn't seem to be somebody capable of making that up. And then when she's confronted with it, that this hurts the department, she's forced to change her story and then come up with the idea that she misremembered it. And she's pretty much destroyed her career, credibility. It'd be hard to see her ever being a police officer again and testifying on anything of substance anymore. So something happened to make her go back on that.
And the commissioner thinks that by just having his own amnesia about the entire meeting that he looks better. I don't understand that. Let's listen to just a touch more of her very important testimony on this false memory, because then we're going to get back to the letter from Alan Jackson requesting that she be put on the Brady list. So here we go.
How many other times have you testified in a court of law during the course of your job?
Two dozen, 3 dozen. And actually testified probably ballpark a dozen times.
In any of those other cases, has Commissioner Michael Cox called you up to his office to discuss your testimony in any of those cases? Yes or no?
That's not a yes or a no answer.
Well, yes, it actually is, Ms. Dever.
So no comments, okay? Just
Judge Bev, why don't you tell the witness to answer the question instead?
Yeah.
The question, yes. The implication.
The question is, in any of those, I'm asking you an open-ended question. In any of those cases, Officer Dever, not including this one, has Commissioner Michael Cox ordered you up to his office to discuss your testimony?
No.
Thank you.
All right, then. So this is so important, and I want to get back to the letter because it has a whole lot to do with the impact of this Brady listing. Okay. Either Officer Dever lied about having a false memory, or she actually suffers. Let me bring that open. Sorry, folks. You don't need to see me read. Oh, I got rid of. There you go. You're back. Excuse me. I'm getting nauseous here I'm getting seasick. Let's see. Let me bring this back up. Here we go. This is critical. This is, what's the impact of being put on this list? Either Officer Dever lied about her having a false memory, or she actually suffers from a condition that subjects her to false memories. In either case, her credibility and reliability as a law enforcement officer are irreparably compromised. If she lied under oath, Officer Dever is guilty of perjury. If she truly suffers from false memories, she's unfit to serve as a police officer. Current or prior. I've double highlighted that in my green, my Just to Serve TV green, because I've heard tons of discussion about, well, I'm sure that, anything she does going forward, people are going to be hesitant to have her. This woman is done as a law enforcement officer. She's done. So anything she does going forward, I'm not sure if at Walmart they require that you're checked if you're on the Brady list, if you're the security officer at Walmart, or if you're, checking out books at the library, whatever her next job is. I don't think it's going to matter. My concern and question is the prior cases. Remember, first she said, 2 or 3 dozen. And then oh, no, wait a minute. And in her mind, she's thinking, oh, you don't mean cases where I've just walked by the courthouse. Oh, you mean cases where I've actually testified. Oh, okay. She narrows it down to 12. And we're doing a little research to figure out what those 12 cases might be.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me your take on this, Michael. Those cases could be impacted by her being listed.
Exactly. I think if she was the lead officer on a case and credibility is an issue, let's say it was a drunk driving charge or something where credibility is an issue, it's basically a crime of opinion. I think that'd be a great motion for new trial to have that vacated. The plea, if it was a plea or even a trial, it was based on a report and from an officer who says she has problems remembering and creates false memories. So we don't know if that police report was true. We don't know if her testimony was true. So any case where she has any critical role in it, I think would be a great motion for a new trial, and it probably would be allowed based on what she testified to, the false memory. And even what we saw in that little clip, she knows she didn't testify 30 times. She guessed. She guessed it because she's like, shoot, I haven't testified that much.
I'll bet you it's less than 12, but she threw that out there. But anybody involved in whatever the number is, 10, 5, 6, they should be concerned. If they're in the prosecution and they got a conviction, they should be very concerned.
And we were sent this morning a citizen report 174888701. Date of offense is to put her on the Brady list, because I guess anyone can make that. It can make that allegation, right? And so people watching our show, key issues supporting the inclusion: inconsistent testimony, allegations of external pressure, lack of preparedness and clarity. All right. And the conclusion as to why she should be on: the combination of Dever's contradictory statements, claims of external pressure, and apparent lack of preparedness suggests a compromised ability to provide consistent and reliable testimony. Such factors are critical in determining an officer's suitability for inclusion on the Brady list, as they directly impact the fairness and integrity of the legal proceedings.
And let me just finish this off, the letter. Which Alan Jackson's basically what he thinks is the remedy for this. Severe sanctions, the least of which is dismissal of every case she touches. I would change that to say or touched, but that's going to be subject to further litigation. If it is determined that your department was on notice, which the letter formally provides, and the department does nothing to include Officer Dever on the Brady list, and thereafter provides to the defense the exculpatory and impeachment materials in its possession, the sanctions can and will be far more extreme. I'm not sure. I mean, execution is probably a little bit too much, but I'm not sure what the other things might be. So, Michael, here's my question for you. Let me get rid of this so we can see your smiling face better. There we go. What are the odds that the commissioner gets this and then says, that's interesting, and then just tosses it away?
I think he has to put her on the list. I don't see how the commissioner cannot put her on the list based on the testimony. It's really unavoidable. She kind of boxed herself into a corner by creating the false memory, because now it sounds like she's, as Alan Jackson said, it sounds like she's got a medical condition. So it's not just she made a mistake. She went so far as to try to say, she basically doubled down on the fact that she lied and then tried to make it seem like it was involuntary or she couldn't control it. Now she's further damaged her credibility, so it's beyond repair. They could put her on the list. It doesn't mean she can't testify. They could call her, but practically speaking, how can you have her? A police officer can't be assigned to low-level crimes. A police officer could be assigned to pull somebody over for speeding. It could become a major drug investigation. So if you can't trust her testimony, she really can't have any significant role. Police generally do have body cameras now, but I still don't think that would be enough. Why would you chance risking a potential major investigation based on something you know is going to be an issue throughout her career?
So let me ask you this then, Michael. All right, we all know as we're watching this that she just didn't come to this conclusion herself. She had to be, in my opinion, coached, put up to this, given a reason, a way out, meet with people. Shouldn't there be an investigation, whether or not it's by the police department or by the Attorney General's office or by the FBI, into who caused what I would say, I'm going to go so far as to say, this possible perjurious testimony?
Right. It goes to the integrity of the system. I think it should be investigated either by the FBI or the Massachusetts Attorney General. Somebody's got to look into it, because it sounds like there was a conspiracy to come up with this theory to convict Karen Reed and to force Officer Devers to basically retract her statement. And she should have had the integrity to say, no, I'm not doing that. You can't. But she went along with it, and that's to her detriment. Police officers have to make tough decisions, just as prosecutors sometimes have to tell their boss, we're not prosecuting this case, which probably should have happened to begin with in the Reed case. So she should have had the ability to do that. And we do need to look into why that happened.
I think that's I think that's a big one right there. I think that if there's any takeaway from that, it's not so much putting on the list. And I imagine that Alan Jackson has now created that dichotomy for the police commissioner and all by having, I think this letter is just the opening salvo here.
Yeah, it just reinforces what we've seen all along, which is the problem starts at the top. And as disgusting and snotty as Miss Dever was, and maybe still is, she was put in that position and forced to play that role. First of all, I don't think she'd be smart enough to come up with this bizarre, false memory story. It's too bizarre unless somebody planted it. Here's what you should say. And then she said dutifully what she should say. But again, it starts at the top. And Cox looks like a buffoon by suggesting that I don't even remember. I have so many things to do.
Yeah.
Oh,
man is right. Rumor has it that Officer Dever has been on leave.
Yeah, she is on leave.
She testified whether or not it's a leave that she put herself on, that they put her on, whether it's medical leave, disability leave, whatever it is. I think that she ain't going to be coming off that leave anytime soon.
Unless she forgets that she's on leave because she has memory problems and she just goes to work. That's, it could happen.
Someone said, one of the jurors said, she's carrying a gun.
Yeah, well, that is scary. That's scary. And I think, remember, she started with Canton PD, and I'm not meaning to turn on the entire Canton PD. We know they have some issues, but it's like, it's like hiring Barney Fife because he's the local guy, Or
you're hiring her to Boston because you have a cover-up going on.
Well, that could be, but I mean, her original job at Canton PD, she was like 22, maybe 21 at the time.
Oh, stop being so ageist.
It's just, is that the best person for the job? No, she just happens to live in Canton. We like her. We know her family, whatever. You get what you pay for. So anyway, we'll see what happens with Miss Dever.
Okay.
But you think, Michael, odds on she's going to be on the Brady list? That's your best guess?
Yes, I would expect that she'd be put on the list.
Okay. All right.
All right, now we go to more interesting. This is going to go on because I assume that she has a right way to appeal the list, and the police union is going to get involved, and whether or not,
Yeah, that's a good question. Is that would she have some sort of appellate rights or review rights, Michael? How does that work?
I don't think so. It's just a list. Even if she's not on the list, a defense attorney would likely know about her testimony
Yes,
anyway. It would just
I think so.
Maybe an audit. It could be if she stayed on the police force, how unlikely that would be. I think the Boston police should have removed her from the police force just based on her testimony alone, even apart from the false memory. It was clear that she wasn't answering the questions. She was there to show up the defense attorney to support her.
Did she pick the wrong defense
yeah, that's for
attorney?
Sure.
As you know, I spent 6 months in a court with Alan Jackson fighting every day. She picked the wrong. She didn't do her research well. She picked the wrong defense attorney.
If you're going to try to walk back such important statements made to a law enforcement organization like the FBI, you got to come up with a better story. It's got to be a better story. That's
I
the
don't
problem.
know. Didn't we just do the Epstein case?
Well, speaking of that, and so now we're talking about lists. We got the list analysis crossover. You're saying, Michael, that even if she weren't on the list, she's on the list, right? Okay. Gotcha. So in both of these cases, Epstein and here, there's not really a list, but there's a list. I guess.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on now to another piece of correspondence. This from Mr. Mark Bederow. And he has.
By the way, while you're pulling that up and explain that, I want to remind everybody to please smash those subscribe, like, share, and notify. I was watching Aidan, and he
says smash. He definitely says smash.
He says smash for like 10 minutes on a show, and I never forget to do it. But I also want to remind everybody that one of the reasons why I love Michael, and I didn't seem that long because we didn't have really a case in Massachusetts, but that Michael pays for education of young attorneys out of his own pocket. That's how I met him. I tried the case we all know about, right? And he invited me up to lecture to his people, paid me out of his own pocket, and he brings people in so he can educate them. So this is not just an attorney who's here for the glory. I want you to give all the glory to Michael. I know there's God is out there, but he's our God for this show, and he should be your God because he really does. He's involved in education of all young attorneys, tells them how to try cases, teaches them about forensics, teaches them what things are about. That's how we know we can count on him to educate you. So please go to his website, give him a like, spread the word. He's just fabulous. All right.
You preach, sister. You go.
I'm preaching, man.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it, Linda.
So we're going to look now at the Bederow letter. This is the latest letter, as folks know who've been following. He is one of Aidan Kearney's attorneys, and I have some thoughts on the purpose of the letter, but let's get into the mechanics of it, the guts of it, before we talk about the philosophy. So remember, this came on the heels. Last week, the 7th, there was a discovery hearing. It was also an arraignment for the 17th charge against Aidan Kearney, one of the witness intimidation charges, the one outside D&E Pizza, finally arraigned last Monday, where he pled not guilty. But they were also there to continue battling over the discovery that had not been provided by the Commonwealth. So on that day, we see, two piles. There were like two piles that were like this thick, and they kept talking about 5,000 documents. I said, I got reams of paper, single paper, 500 pages, at least that. 500, 5,000. That's a chunk, and I don't know where the 5,000 might be. Somebody has suggested maybe they were like 4 pages per page, and I know that exists because in the court reporter world, and I don't mean journalism, I mean stenographer, court reporter world, when they print a transcript, sometimes they will do a condensed transcript and will have 4 full pages on a page. So, okay, I'm saying, okay, well, now you're down to 1,000 pages, and if they're front and back, now you're down to 500. Okay, so maybe that's possible. Anyway, so this letter follows that discovery. This is 5 days later, July 12th, and we get into what was provided and what was not provided. The investigations that led to Aidan Kearney's indictment were essentially outsourced by the Commonwealth to Catherine Peter. Everybody knows Catherine Peter, I think, at this point. She is the woman that has made all the allegations against Mr. Kearney. Maybe she has a lawsuit going back to 2020 which we can touch on here that has to do with the copyrights and YouTube, actually. Anyway, Kenneth Mello, as we know, former DA, who is still an attorney of record in all of these cases. Don't ask me why. Michael, let me get your take on that while we're talking about it. This guy's been removed from the case. I think there were some illness issues, but in terms of practical application, he's no longer involved in the case, but he's still technically an attorney of record.
They generally don't update that. So once you're on the case, you'll get the notices until the case is done.
And you would have to, wouldn't you file a withdrawal of some sort to be officially removed from the case?
Even if you do, it still shows up. It'll still show up on mass courts, which basically keeps track of who's ever entered on a case. So,
but is that more practical for just service purposes, and they don't want to make sure, they want to make sure they do get everybody, even if there's an error? Or, I mean, there's a huge difference between being an attorney of record and being listed on the service list.
I'm not sure why they're still listing him. I think
that
should take him off once you're out. But a lot of times it happens where you just always, if you were on a case, you'll still get the notices anyway.
Yeah, and of course, Mark Bederow and Tim Bradle's position is that he's going to be a witness in this trial because he was so integral in his relationship with Ms. Peter that he has to be a witness. And if he has to be a witness, then we need to clear up what his involvement is in the case. If he's still an attorney of record, we'll work around that because technically then he's got to conflict himself out, I guess, but he's still there, still connected. So this letter, among other things, reminds Cosgrove, the special prosecutor, that Kenneth Mello and the Massachusetts State Police ignored a number of red flags, including this constant connection between Ms. Peter and anything that had to do with the presentation of evidence against Mr. Kearney. They're telling, Bederow is telling Cosgrove in this letter, she was running the show. Any evidence that came along, she presented to Mr. Mello, and it was accepted as the gospel without even normal vetting to determine chain of custody or reliability of any of the evidence. Just taken wholesale to the grand jury and then turned into what ultimately was the indictment of Mr. Kearney. My first question, Michael, is this. Let's talk about the normal structure of litigation, whether it's criminal, civil. There's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of zealousness, and you can be, what's the legal phrase I'm looking for? You can be a dickhead in how you deal with the other side, as long as you're not
spicy, Michael.
As long as you're not breaking the law, right? I'm zealously representing my client. If I'm not going to withhold stuff, but I'm going to make the other side work to get it. I'm going to make them do their job as well. I have no problem with that. We had in California a more kind of formal way. It's called meet and confer, right? The court needs to see proof that you have met and conferred before you get the court involved, because they got other stuff to do before you bring that motion. So do you see this letter as kind of a elaborate meet and confer, or is this just done instead of a motion?
I think what he's trying to do is remind the prosecutor of the Rule 14 obligations, that they have to disclose all this. It's all exculpatory. They have a duty to investigate. So it can't, I think basically he's trying to say that you have to look into this because you have some exculpatory material here and you need to find it, and you can't just ignore it, close your eyes and say, I didn't know. And
so here we have this is, I think it's like 13 pages, this letter. And so it gets into what I believe is far more than is necessary outside the confines of a motion. Mm-hmm. And as I looked at it and I see the timing, four defense demands. Oops, let me put that back up. Sorry. 4 defense demands. This is on page 2 at the bottom. 4 defense demands for discoverable and exculpatory material related to Ms. Peter began on October 8, 2024. Until July 7, last week, each of these specific and detailed demands was met with a shrug of the shoulders and complete silence from the Commonwealth. Now, if I'm on the receiving end of that, I'm bringing a motion for sanctions, and I want it all. I want dismissal sanctions. I want the death penalty, right, for the case that the prosecution is failing to provide this material so I can put on a defense for my client. Do you see any advantage, disadvantage waiting this long to remind that there have been failure after failure after failure to provide the discovery requested?
No, I don't think there's any downside to asking now. So I think now that the Reed case is over, the theory is there's no more justification for hiding the discovery. I think that was the rationale of some of this stuff was subject to a protective order. So basically he's saying now that that case is done, his client has a First Amendment right to get the information. He's charged with a crime, a witness intimidation. Is it First Amendment? Is it a crime? So he should be entitled to whatever discovery he thinks is exculpatory, and the prosecution shouldn't really be hiding behind it to protect any witnesses. Doesn't sound like a very compelling case. They have 3 indictments. All of them are basically the different players in the Karen Reed case. I don't think you haven't really heard much of what he actually did. You just hear there was intimidation. How? When? I haven't heard much about the strength of the case. It sounds like it's a very weak case to begin with, motivated by retaliation against him for being a journalist, essentially.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week when Judge Doolin was making his, no rulings at the time, but he was orchestrating what might be, and we think there will be a ruling next week. We'll see about that. That's why we want to get Aidan on after that ruling takes place. But yeah, my gut feeling was Doolin sees this for what it is, which I believe I called first-degree bullshit, but he's trying to massage it and get through the process. So you're kind of given a pass to the failure to be more aggressive to get this discovery because the trial was underway with Karen Reed and everybody was kind of backing off a little bit. Is that legit? Okay.
Right. I think that was the logic because they said that. I listened to the arguments, and basically they said now that case is done, there's really there's no need to keep these documents secretive. If the documents are embarrassing, they still must be disclosed. So I think the government's got a choice: either dismiss if this is going to just create more problems with them, show how awful the investigation was, and how maybe the case against Karen Reed should have been dismissed, or maybe not even brought. Maybe show that it was actually weaker than was proven in court. Maybe the prosecutor just says, you know what, we looked at it, we're going to dismiss the case to try to avoid. But with Aidan Kearney, I'm sure he probably wouldn't let that. He might not let that happen. He might do public record requests and still try to get the information. So I think it's going to come out eventually one way or the other. So the prosecution should just disclose it. They're required to. The rule's clear. You can't really hide this stuff.
Yeah.
But can I just ask you a question? This whole thing, this is like a big charade, and Mr. Cosgrove, and I'm here, and I've got my 5,000 pages here of this, 5 or 6, I'm not sure, and here it is. And so you're early to ask for it. Here it is, knowing that no one's going to sit there and go through it, and 4,000 of them are blank. How can you? Why won't there be sanctions for even saying that? I mean, I just think that was like, if you want to play to the cameras, fine, play to the cameras. But I mean, to me, that's an outrageous thing. I mean, I think I'd file a motion for sanctions.
Exactly. And there are tons of sanctions. You have monetary sanctions, you have evidentiary sanctions, you have terminating sanctions if it gets bad enough. And judges are hesitant to go that far, but they can do something. So this was part of the letter that I've got up here now. Inexplicably, this critical evidence remained undisclosed. And we're talking about all of the back and forth between Ms. Peter and the DA and the cops, and as if she were on the payroll. They want all of that information. And, it's not privileged in any way. So the court, the defense were led to believe that the July 7th, last week, production contained more than 5,000 pages of discovery and included all of the Peter materials we've sought for almost a year. As it turns out, what we were told on the 7th was inaccurate. That's a nice way to put it. What was represented to the court and defense, 4,727 pages of relevant material. They say 4,000 blank pages. I've not confirmed, but others have suggested it was redacted to the point that it was blank. That's a distinction without a difference. But it would be more accurate if those were really redacted pages. I don't know. Another few hundred pages purportedly had relevant material. They were entirely redacted without explanation. Now that seems to me to be a distinction being drawn between blank and entirely redacted. So again, we don't really know. I saw them from 20 feet away, clipped together in a pile. I don't know what the hell was in there. Accordingly, we demanded immediate production of the entirety of the relevant materials from Lieutenant Tully's cell phone prior to August 13th. So, in a nutshell, that's what the battle is about. And this has to be distilled into emotion. There's no way, would you expect Cosgrove to say, you're right. Here's the stuff we've been sitting on. I don't know why you got 4,000 blank pages. I mean, other than bringing this to the court's attention officially by motion, how do you see this resolving?
It looks like I believe the judge gave him 2 weeks to provide the discovery. So I think he's got to provide it based on the judge's order within 2 weeks, or have a really good reason why. I think the judge wants to get the case moving or get it to a point where they can select a trial date. So the case is old. The allegations are old. It's only documents. There's really no reason why they can't be provided. So I think the court will be firm and make sure and say if the documents aren't provided, gave him 2 weeks, he could dismiss the case. This is something where I wouldn't put it past the judge to dismiss the case. He doesn't seem like he has. There's an excuse for not providing the documents. I think if the defense brought a motion to dismiss, it'd have a good chance of being allowed.
You're saying he's embracing my theory of first-degree bullshit? Is that what you're suggesting? He may be embracing that?
The judge's tone. I think he is sympathetic to the defense side based on how he's handled this, and motion to dismiss very well could be successful if it was filed.
Yeah. Also, there was a gauntlet laid down last week where Tim Brady spoke before Mr. Bederow, Attorney Bederow, and said, look, this is a case that supposedly involves the allegation of intimidation. It involves the issue of who is a journalist. And Judge Doolin's already found that Aidan Kearney is a journalist. And the people argue with me on X. And I said, well, sorry about that. You've lost that battle, you idiot. And then the third thing was the First Amendment issue. And he said that these things will then go to the Supreme Court. Your statute, I don't mean you, but Massachusetts statute has that intimidation that if you make me feel bad, I feel bad sometimes when my lipstick is not the right color that's delivered.
You're very sensitive about that.
I could be intimidated by, I won't name a brand name. I could be intimidated by that. I'm joking, but I'm making it extreme because it is extreme, in my opinion, that if you just make somebody feel bad as opposed to your intent is to intimidate and you're actually intimidating them, you could be charged with a crime. Talk to us about your statute and its constitutionality.
Well, whenever you have a statute, you always have to interpret it in light of the Constitution. So the intimidation, the intent has to be to prevent somebody from calling the police. A common example is, there'll be a domestic and the husband will rip the phone out of the wall or something like that. That's a classic witness intimidation, or breaking somebody's phone. His conduct, the intent is clearly speech. It's clearly to disagree with the point of view of the other parties, the other witnesses. There has to be an intent to prevent them from testifying, to prevent them from going to court, but it can't be. You have to interpret the law in light of the First Amendment. So if he's disagreeing and saying their opinion is wrong, he could say their testimony is wrong, their viewpoint is wrong. That's a core First Amendment right to disagree with somebody. As a journalist, his First Amendment rights are the most sacred, protected rights. So there was
one of the reasons why we sued. The only reason Michael Bryant sued Judge Kenney, the state of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts State Police, because of that First Amendment right. And speaking about that First Amendment right, if the intent, and let's talk about the intent, Aidan Kearney tells an officer on the courthouse, tells somebody, a witness, tell the truth, and then he gets indicted for witness intimidation by telling to somebody to tell the truth. And let's bring it to our other case that we just discussed earlier, Officer Dever. Do the right thing, okay? How do you separate those?
Yeah, I think it really is. I think a strong argument that there's a First Amendment right here. I think that there's a good motion to dismiss that this is just not a crime. This isn't what witness intimidation was meant for. Cases where people are physically being harmed if they testify. Really the purpose of the statute was more physical, that people were being prevented from going to court or told that if they're snitches, they're going to be physically harmed, not people who are just saying, you're wrong, you're supporting crooked police. So, it's a misuse of the statute to even bring the case. Should have never been brought against him. It's just an abuse of the process, and it has a chilling effect on the First Amendment if the law is going to be used in that way. But it just wasn't intended to be used that way.
I'm blaming the legislature because they're the ones who crafted it with that additional language. I don't mind the economic injury part of it. I think that can be legitimate. I think if somebody threatens your livelihood, your ability to care for your family, I think that can be an intimidation that's legitimate. But this emotional component, and the worst part about that is it's subjective. If I feel like I was emotionally damaged by whatever you said, then I have a right to make that complaint. That is ridiculous. So maybe out of this, some good will come. Maybe there will be some legislative change or a court case that will effectively make a legislative change by refining that emotional component.
Right.
I'm hoping that everyone goes back and the legislature goes back. And there's a movie from 1974. It's like considered one of like the top movies ever made. A little movie called The Godfather. The horse head
against the family.
The horse head in the bed. That is intimidation. All right. Just if you like movies and you know what I'm talking about, even if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and look it up. It's a scene that's on YouTube. We got a copyright strike. We did. Copyright strike for playing it from 1974. But I think we can mention it without getting a copyright strike.
That's on one end of the spectrum. And here we have the other end of the spectrum. Like, I don't like your face. Oh, I'm hurt by that. It's like you're intimidating. Yeah.
Speaking about being intimidated by your cosmetic companies, Kara wants to know, what's my lip shade? Okay, my lip color is a certain Chanel shade, and then on top of it is a MAC color dealing with that's got glitters on it that you put on a brush and you dab into the Chanel shade. So I have to get both of them for you.
That's very complicated. Anyhow, Michael, Michael, what are you wearing? What lip gloss do you have on, Michael?
I got the plain.
I got chapstick. I got some chapstick on. That's what I got.
You both have a good sense of humor. Michael, we want to thank you very, very much. Just so all of you know, by the way, and we should share this while Michael's on. We have a viewer, Sky Hopper, T16 Media. She tried to constantly give us donations, and we told her no because she was giving us her allowance. All right. But look at this. Double great news. There's a publishing house wanting to print my script. I just got the letter today. My dad started crying. He is so happy. This has nothing to do with
congratulations,
but congratulations, Sky Hopper T16.
Very exciting.
Media. We are here at Justice Serve TV, your family, and of course, we're all applauding you. And of course, we know your dad has been on, your sister has been on. You brought a lot of your schoolmates on. Unfortunately, every once in a while we get spicy, and maybe that's not necessarily.
Well, that's right. Whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Well, that's good. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations. So we want to thank you without. And then with regard to programming, we do have a number of program notes we talked about tomorrow. We have a very special guest, first appearance, retired. I won't say former. Retired FBI, doesn't use FBI in her name. Jodine Weber is going to be on. We're going to be talking about the Bryant Walsh case, also in your neck of the wood, Michael.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So we'll have to have you back on, and as we dig into that case, and what the hell's going on up there, Michael?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. So we'll excuse you from our production meeting here. And thank you again for coming on. We appreciate it. It's great to have that local insight, and we hope to have you back on, buddy. Appreciate
I
it.
hope you're willing to.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Great to
Michael.
see you both. See you, Linda. See you, Mike. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have Barb on, the cousin of Sandra Birchmore, along with Mizzy B, her very special guest, first appearance on our show. Also, Thursday, we may have, you already let the cat out of the bag, Michael Easter may be on.
Maybe, it's...
It depends. He's got a trial on Friday. If not, we're going to have, we'll be using those
It'll be
specs.
soon.
If not, we'll be using, it'll be soon. We'll be using those specs, and Friday we're going to take.
And I can't wait to get into it. Let me interrupt just a second. The Easter and that Epstein
right?
footage,
The Easter and
the
Epstein.
OIG. Right now, class. Here's the assignment between now and when we have Mr. Easter on.
Right.
Read at least a chunk of that OIG report.
Please.
It's out there. It's unbelievable. The visual assistance. There's maps and charts. Really tells you how ridiculous the video is. But it gives you much more information about the investigation. It was a serious investigation, and it raises serious questions that now apparently are no longer questions. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's what they think. They're no longer questions. Anyhow, so we have that, and then we're going to take another dip into the Adelson case. I think we're going to be doing Charlie Adelson.
I think Charlie's going to take the stage on Friday.
And going in-depth on Friday with Charlie Adelson. And then we come back on Monday, and we have Aidan's hearing will be on Monday, right?
We have the court's making a decision on the discovery, as Michael suggested.
Okay.
And then so Aidan will come on Tuesday, and we'll talk about
something. He's going to come on Tuesday. And then as a program note, I will give you that next Thursday night, just so you can put it in your calendars. And we have other things already planned for Monday and Wednesday, but we're not going to disclose them to you.
I don't even know what they are. What is next Thursday? 1 week from Thursday, what do we have?
Auntie Deb.
Oh, Auntie Deb, yeah.
Auntie Deb is going to Jimmy's going to make his first appearance on our show. Auntie Deb, okay? Auntie Deb says, I see everything. So we've invited him on. I know that's real exciting for you all. So, and then we'll talk to you about the rest of the week. And then the following week, we're going to have obviously an update on Matthew Farwell, but we don't think that's really going to be an update. And anyhow, Michael's going to be doing it because he's going to be World in the World is Justice is going to be for the first 3 days, and probably the last 2 days of that week we may take those 2 days off. I have to be in federal court on a case, and Michael has to be also on a matter out of state. So just so you know, but we're already into.
I'm exhausted.
August 15th.
I'm exhausted already.
We're exhausted, and we haven't taken a summer vacation yet.
I know.
Michael Bryant, I need a summer vacation.
I know. Well, maybe we'll give you a few days off if you're good.
Oh wow! I tell you, couldn't do it without all of you, and of course without all of our mods and without of our members. And if I figure out how to become a member, then maybe tomorrow night it'll appear member for like 1 day, right?
Hey, I've got a YouTube complaint before we go. I was going to put a poll. We've had polls on our community tab.
Right.
You go to the community tab now, and it's not a community tab. It's a QR code to take you to an app. And so they've shifted the community tab from your normal channel. What the hell are they doing?
Well, they did that a long crime, remember? And then.
But this is YouTube. They've taken one of your tabs where you can put all kinds of things, post polls and other updates, and it's now just gone. You got to do it through I don't understand what their thinking is, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I can't put up the poll I was going to put up.
So you can't put up the poll. All right. Yeah. I know we're in bad shape, but all right. So we've got all these cases going on. Remember, we've got Birchmore, we've got Epstein, we've got Michael Easter coming on, we've got Walsh, we've got Adelson, and then of course in August we have other trials. Our friend Ashley Merchant is going to start a trial. Doug Weinstein's going to start a trial. Michael Bryant, I'm exhausted.
That's right. Oh, thanks to Romy. Member for 3 months.
Thank you, Romy. Hopefully I'll see you on the member page as soon as I figure out how to become a member of my own channel.
Yeah, it's a process. Okay, folks.
Try a murder case. If you ever get charged with murder,
that's right.
I'm your person.
As long as you don't want to get to be a member of Justice Serve TV, you're set. All right, we'll see you tomorrow night. We will do it again. I'm Michael Bryant. Try to do the right thing.
And please, before you go, hit that subscribe, or as Aidan Kearney would say, smash that subscribe button. Smash it right now. Share, like, and you will be notified. Notify all, and we will see you tomorrow night.